Friday night on the Lower East Side, and Janice Shaw was being carted. It was autumn, so darkness was arriving sooner and sooner each night. This rock show started early, 7 p.m., and the sun had already set. In the shadows, Janice can look like a teenager, the same teenager who frequented clubs like CBGB and Max's Kansas City back in their 1970s heyday. She's petite, dressed in a black leather jacket, her hair spiked and dyed platinum. But she's no kid. This was her 60th birthday, and she and her gray-haired friends had been stopped by the Arlene's grocery bouncer, a guy at least 3 decades younger who was demanding to see ID. Janice wasn't even carrying a purse, so she could dance unencumbered. That is, if she could get past the door. Her friend Ann Husick was carrying her bass guitar, since she was playing that Friday. But no ID, said Ms. Husick, who also works as a booker at the nearby Sidewalk Cafe. I have some gray hair I can show you. The manager, who looked so young he might have trouble growing a beard, came out to tell them he would make an exception, but in the future, they'd need to bring ID. They headed to the bar, where they met up with Janice's husband, Kevin Shaw, the bassist for another band playing that night, the Hip Hips. We used to get in at Max's when we were 15, no problem, said Mr. Shaw, who is tall and lanky and obviously not 15 anymore. He has wrinkles, white hair, arthritis, scoliosis and the hearing loss of a 63-year-old who has experienced some hard living. He and Janice met in their early 20s at Max's when she was playing in the Crayolas and he was in the BMTs, both bands part of the 1970s downtown New York scene. They were at Arlene's with several dozen fellow veterans, those who never quite made the big time. There was a guy in the corner who used to play with Johnny Thunders, and a woman who used to sing backup for Ronnie Spector. There were those whose record contracts had long expired, and those who never landed a contract. They all hugged and kissed as they met one another yet again in the comfort of a dark club. Many of their friends and contemporaries fell victim years ago to drugs and hard living, Thunders and several of his fellow New York Dolls, 2 of the Cramps, most of the Ramones, Stiff Baiters from the Dead Boys and a legion of the undiscovered. But they were here that night to celebrate that they are still kicking. In the last few years it has become a tribal ritual every week or two, to see old friends play. Some have wandered back from the suburbs or from retirement to the old neighborhood to join a new scene, a community that's risen out of the ashes and bones of the old one. These survivors are here to keep the wolf from the door, to socialize, to dance and drink. But mostly they are here to rock. And they are not alone. Musicians from back in the day in acts old and new like Manitoba, New York City, Bush Tetras, Diane Gentile and the Gentlemen, Exit 99, Lenny Kaye, New York Junk, the Phil Gammage Quartet, Gas Wild, Cheetah Chrome, the Skelecasters, the Fleshtones and Walter Lure and the Waldos are gigging like there's no tomorrow. They're as punk as it gets, with nothing to prove, no chance of selling out, and a special brand of nihilism that can only come with old age.